We've all been talking about games on platforms like Steam and itch.io having their sales restricted because of payment processor demands, and unfortunately, it looks like the situation is going to continue to get worse before it potentially gets better, as now Riot Games is being accused of blocking Mastercard discourse in their chats. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, unfortunately, these payment processors are not going to stop anytime soon. They want to control us. It's not really about protecting anyone, and it's great that gamers are fighting back, but they're clearly not listening to our feedback right now. Apparently, their customer service lines are overwhelmed. They have released statements that gamers have said are complete and utter lies, and they are actively censoring people on social media. If we head on over to the official Mastercard News X account, they are hiding tons of replies, some from a couple of days ago, some that are brand new. They really don't want anybody discussing the situation, and it's not shocking to see why. There are 3.5 billion gamers across the world, and if a portion of those people fight back against this, they are going to face massive boycotts, they are going to lose money, and of course, at the end of the day, they're a company. They need to make as much money as possible and have as many customers as possible, but gamers are fighting back as much as they can. And now it looks like Mastercard is going even a step further because they're demanding developers censor their players. So it says, as multiple different parts of the art, entertainment, and gaming industries are being impacted by ongoing crackdowns from various payment processors, it appears that Riot Games is being directly asked by Mastercard to monitor esports live streams for negative statements against the brand. Oh, this infuriates me to no end. We are talking about these payment processors basically threatening developers, because while they're saying, oh, we're not the ones that are technically removing the content and we're not the ones that are deciding which games stay on platforms and which games go, we still have Mastercard and Visa saying we're going to rip your funding source away from you if you do not cater to our demands. That was what Steam said. That is what itch.io said. And now it looks like it's happening with Riot Games. Now, I don't necessarily think I'm shocked that Riot Games is actually complying, because Riot Games is owned by Tencent, and Tencent is a Chinese company. And when it comes to citizen monitoring and censorship, well, the Chinese are definitely who comes to mind first and foremost, right? North Korea, China, Russia. I'm not particularly shocked to see that they are complying and they are okay with a lot of the censorship that's going on right now. I mean, look at the ID systems that are sweeping across all of the social media platforms. Governments want to monitor people and control people and keep track of people, and, well, China really was the blueprint for that. It says, though, Mastercard is a longtime sponsor of Riot Games dating back to its September 2018 deal, where the payment processor became the first global partner for League of Legends esports that has since expanded to Valorant and other activations, including things like the Mastercard Gamer Academy. More all BS, right? It's all just tax write-offs at the end of the day. But apparently now they're being asked to monitor esports live streams as Mastercard comes under fire for an ongoing controversy regarding pressuring multiple platforms like Steam, itch.io, and other non-gaming entities to remove or restrict access to various items labeled as NSFW. It looks like the company is getting a bit antsy about online sentiment, according to the statement shared with ESI via an anonymous source active within Riot's wider esports and content ecosystem. Mastercard, quote unquote, kindly asked Riot to keep an eye out for comments during related live stream channels and events regarding negative sentiment around the payment processors, and we know that this is going to be an extremely slippery slope. So, of course, this is an anonymous source, an anonymous report. Take it with a grain of salt, but if this is true, content creators are going to get absolutely screwed over in the coming weeks and months, because while they're just trying to present it as official events events and these official esports channels, we know that now Mastercard feels emboldened by their actions, and they probably feel like they can go to other companies and demand that other content creators are silenced. This means really bad news for people like me and Savvy and Hypnotic and basically anybody on the internet who is covering this situation. The statement notes that Riot hadn't seen any of that negative sentiment around the Mastercard controversy related to Riot-owned properties. However, the person sending the statement did ask that instances of it being brought up be forwarded to active moderators so that anything unusual is flagged. Yeah, I bet Riot goes to the players and says, listen, we're going to ban your account and ban your ability to compete in any official esports events going forward if you make statements like this. And of course, most of those players are probably going to comply because they don't want to lose their livelihood. They don't want to lose accounts that maybe they've put hundreds or thousands of dollars into, which of course is terrible. I mean, it's payment processors threatening content creators. And I did another video on it. It will be linked down below. But in the United States, we do have some level of protection right now because of the recent executive order that was passed. But there's still a lot of questions that we have in regards to that and how effective it will truly be. I did another video and here's a post on it. But companies like Visa and Mastercard can no longer deny payment for something that is, in their opinion, lacking artistic value but is legal in the USA, which Valve had pointed to their rule that outlines that sales of products or services that are patently offensive and lack serious artistic value or any other material that the corporation deems unacceptable to sell in connection with a mark are a violation of this rule. Now, I definitely think it is very important to stay cautiously optimistic. There are members of Trump's administration who have talked in the past about banning pornography, like Russ Vought. He's a Project 2025 co-author, but he also runs Doge now. He's talked about being for a national porn ban to basically get birth rates up, which I don't think is going to work. That's just my opinion. But yeah, there's still problems regardless of the executive order. Now, the order needs to be passed as legislation through Congress to stay in. Its purpose was initially to protect gun rights and politicians and commentators first, but it could result in hopefully protecting anybody's rights and access to banking services, no matter what they are doing or who they are, as long as it's lawful. And that means gamers are protected too. It's not a magic fix to our problems. I definitely don't want anybody to think that, oh my gosh, we're completely saved and Mastercard's going to be slapped in the face with all of these different lawsuits because of this. And with people like Russ in power, we could still face issues, but the order is a very good step in a very good direction, in my opinion. And in theory, we should be protected by Visa and Mastercard and their overreach, though again, if companies want to comply, right, that adds another layer to the conversation because, well, technically, yes, it's not Visa and Mastercard who are censoring us or censoring content. It would be, in this case, Riot. And then as a player, you would have to sue Riot and Mastercard Visa. It's a clusterfuck. Though, yes, in the United States, we should see some extra level of protection now. It goes on to say, though, as noted by responses to this leaked statement, Riot does not necessarily have an obligation to do this, but appears to be directly siding with Mastercard in providing potential suppression within its event live streams. Yeah, because of course companies want everything to be politically correct and sanitized. That's what they have pushed for years at this point. That's why we see so many franchise revived and modernized. It's why we see so many different toxicity filters in games by AI. Like, we are just talking about companies wanting to monitor and control you at all given chances. During the VCT America Stage 2 streams on August 8th, Riot made the streams follower and subscriber only on both Twitch and YouTube, with that time increasing as more users start flooding the streams. One user shared that you needed to be following for an hour before chatting on Twitch initially, with another following that up to less than 20 minutes later, showing that the required time had been extended to a full day. So, yeah, at this point in time, we are talking about potentially even more censorship happening. And again, I do think that we have seen a lot of good conversation around this. I'm so happy to see gamers speaking up and voicing their opinions. And that's why I always recommend sharing my videos, sharing posts you see on X by other creators, just trying to spread the word as much as possible, because the more people talking about it, the harder it's going to be for them to get away with a situation like this. But if you are a Riot player, I would be very careful with what you're saying, because even though this just centers around esports events right now, I highly doubt that it's going to stay that way, and I bet that soon they'll be censoring everybody. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this and of course found it important and informative, make sure to give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.